Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Quranology Television QGTV. I'm Farouk and I'm speaking to you on this cold Sunday morning. I'm hoping to talk about aql or reasoning in the Quran. As I've said before, these video sessions are not comprehensive treatments of any particular subject. They're just my musings, and perhaps in the future, inshallah, I will be focusing on them on my blog. And you're welcome to follow them there and comment there or comment on Facebook, whatever you like, really. Yesterday, I attended one of the most favorite times of my week or month, and that is the London Quran session. These sessions have been going on for about a year now, a year. They are organized and conducted by the International Quranic Institute, and the chairman, Mr. Rizwan Shirazi, my very good friend. He runs the show basically, and he presents every month or so. He has a presentation on an aspect of Quran, and it's actually a very powerful experience when you see the ayat being rotated in your mind. It's very powerful. It's just like, you have the concept and it's stewing in your mind, and another ayat comes and adds to it, and another, and suddenly you get a deeper understanding of that particular concept. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant experience, and if you are in London, please get in touch with me, and you can come and attend those classes as well. It's actually quite benign. It's not a very controversial class, although some of the findings may be unusual. Yesterday, Rizwan had a class on aql, what the Quran says about aql, which he translates to be intellect, and it made me realize how intrinsic the process of ta'akul, reasoning, is to the Quran. And the first thing I would like to say about it is the fact that, except in one place in the Quran, except that, aql is always used in the present continuous tense, fi'il mudari, and you'll find, for example, taqilun, you think, yaqilun, you think. So, this being the case, it shows us that reasoning is continuous. We should never stop reasoning. There's only, as I said, the exception is one. There is only one exception to this, and that is in chapter 2, verse 75, and the word is aqluhu. Min ba'di aqluhu. After their reasoning. They reasoned once, and that's it. They didn't revisit it again and again. So this shows us, and these people were rejectors, by the way. So that kind of tells us something, doesn't it? So this being the case, we should try to continuously reason. So that's point one. Point two, the Quran tells you what reasoning is. The Quran is such an amazing book. When it puts an ayat together, you will see that various elements of that ayah go into corroborating each other's meaning. And that, to me, that is such an amazing thing. I first encountered that with Inayatullah Khan al-Mashriqi, his book Quran and Evolution. He quoted chapter 22, verse 55. Let me actually read it for you, because it's actually a very powerful tool in trying to understand how Quran arranges itself. It's coming. Right. Now, here it says, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ. Allah has promised those who have believed among you, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and who have performed, who have acted righteously, لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, that He will give you a inheritance in the land, كَمَا أَسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِي مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ, that as He has given inheritance to those before you, وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّهُمْ دِينَهُمْ, and He will establish your deen. You see, That's what's happening, uh, and it goes on, and it says right in the middle of the verse, يَعْبُدُونَنِي وَلَا يُشْرِكُ بِي شَيْئًا. They worship me and they do not associate with me anything. So it's right in the middle of the inheritance verse. It mentions worshipping Allah. So what does that tell you? It tells you that worshipping Allah and not associating with Him will lead to this position of inheritorship in the land. Now, again, this is not to establish a fascist state. This is to be safe, yeah, to achieve amana, to be safe. And this shows us that there is a link. When an ayat talks about a certain thing and it brings in another thing right in the middle of the ayat, it will show you that there is a close link between those two things. In this case, ibadah and istikhlaf are ibadah, worship, istikhlaf, inheritorship. These two things are intrinsically linked. So let's get to the akal thing. Yeah, I'll show you what I mean. Al-Baqarah chapter 2 verse 44. This is a handout from the IQI, and I'm very grateful to Rizwan for producing these handouts. It's brilliant. Al-Baqarah chapter 2 verse 44. Atamuruna an-nas bil birra. Do you command or administrate mankind with birra? Birra is to be immune, to achieve a state of immunity. وَتَنْسَوْنَا أَنفُسَكُمْ. And you forget your nafs. Your nafs is your soul. So your soul is the center of change. It is where it all begins. وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابِ. And you are practicing from the book. What is the book here? Well, the context is to Bani Israel. You start with chapter 2 verse 40, and for 3 verses, or rather 4 verses, it tells you about, for example, Bani Israel, they're given revelation, don't reject it, don't cover the truth with falsehood, etc. And establish salah. Yeah, that's chapter 2 verse 43. So these things go about to transforming your nafs. And Allah is asking you, do you command mankind with birr, but you forget yourselves? So self-change or self-transformation is the first step. And at the end of the verse, Allah says, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you not continuously think? So what does this tell you about thinking? Thinking must follow a logical step, a logical pattern. You cannot transform the world unless first you transform yourself. So it shows that there is a sequence to thinking. So here the Quran actually tells us how to think. We are thinking sequentially. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. أَفَلَا, fa, that shows a consequence. So do you not think? You see what I mean? So now we try to see other verses. And another verse is chapter 2 verse 170 to 171. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ. And when it said to them, أَتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ. Follow what is revealed by Allah. قَالُوا, they say, بَلْ نَتَّبِعُوا مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ. We follow the ways of our fathers. أَوَلَوْ كَانَ أَبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ شَيْئًا. Even though your fathers were not thinking about anything, or they were not continuously thinking about a thing. وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ. And they were not guided. Now, this is very interesting. It shows that the process of ta'akul, you are to think about a particular thing, number one. Secondly, you are meant to show results. Guidance is not, in the Quran, guidance, yahtadun, khuda, guidance, hidayah. This is not something which is abstract. If you have guidance, it will show. So, these people, even though their parents did not produce results, they will follow the ways of our father. What we find our fathers were upon. نَتَّبِعُوا ما ألفينا عليه آباءنا. So Allah tells them, Allah gives a parable to describe them. That's the next ayah, verse 171. So verse 171 describes their condition. It says, وَمَثَلُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and the example or parable or analogy of those who reject. Who reject what? They reject the proposition of 2170. It is as if one were to shout like a goat herd to things that listen to nothing but calls and cries. So for them it's just like an array of voices. Then Allah describes them. Summun bukmun umyun fahum la yaqilun. Summun. Summun means to be deaf. Deaf, obviously, it does not mean a disability deaf. It means the unwillingness to listen. So when you talk to people, when people talk to you, you must listen to them. Take in the information. Bukmun. Now this is very interesting. Bukmun. Why is bukmun here? Bukmun means dumb. Dumb. You don't say a word. So what is being encouraged here? You are supposed to intake information, and then you are supposed to process it through articulation. Then it mentions blind, umyun. Umyun is like the inability to look around you. So it goes back again to the wala yahtadun. They were not guided again. These people were not guided, and you can see the results. So don't be blind to the results. I'm sorry to mention this, but the Muslim world, for example, the Muslim world is in such a dire condition. Yet we're not opening our eyes to it, and we think that we're still guided. How is that? So this shows there is a certain process, a certain measure of being guided. And look at the end of the ayat. فَهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. So summun bukmun umyun فَهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. They do not think. فَهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. So they do not think. This shows that the process of thinking involves listening, articulation, and observing. Perhaps in that order, perhaps, I can see it also not in that order, but certainly in that order it would also work. So there you go. There are several, I just mentioned 3 examples of ta'akul there. 3. But there are, I think, about 30 to 40 times it's mentioned in the Quran. Or I think a lot more actually. Can't really see here. Yeah, about 30 to 40 times. So have a look at these verses yourself and try to understand the processes within the Quran. Actually, the Quran describes how we should be as human beings. So when we follow what Quran says about how we should be, inshallah we will attain the results which the Quran describes. It's really that simple. It's almost like an equation. You do it, you get it, kind of thing. So many thanks once again for your viewership. Thanks to Rizwan Shirazi for his classes. If you're interested in joining, get in touch with me. I will have a chat with you and tell you about the next class. Thank you very much again for your time.